Hello everyone, I hope you've had a great week. This week we're supposed to be discussing Hurricane Katrina and our initial reactions to the reading that we read. Some of my comments are not only coming off of the reading, but from the Nova documentary that is online. If you Google Nova, you can watch that video, and the video kind of discusses why the levees break and the devastation that was felt after Hurricane Katrina. My initial response to Hurricane Katrina was just frustration reading the information that was in our book. I feel like the discussion sort of points out that the decisions made by the government and the politics were more based on a racial basis and not funding or not just simply unprepared. I can't help but feel like politically some of the lack of response was due to race, but a big part of me feels like that a lot of it was due to just simply not being prepared. If you watch the Nova documentary on the levees breaking, it is as if they had no backup plan. The levees were supposed to hold and simply did not. So I feel like a big part of the lack of response was just simply not being prepared. I do feel like that parts of the discussion in the book are fair. I know in the textbook it mentions, I think it's on page 57, if you look at number 4, it discusses Kanye West and how he does a good job pointing out that our society sometimes, depending on the race, words things differently, where you're saying the same thing, but your choice of words makes it sound so much more harsh when you're referring to a colored race compared to a white race. There are parts of the reading that I feel like are very discriminatory against whites. I feel like sometimes that, especially where I'm from, and I'm from a very small farming community, so I know this has kind of been ingrained in my brain, and as a counselor I have to kind of deal with this bias and overlook it and understand that it's there. But sometimes I do feel like that in a society, white people can also be discriminated against and can receive racial comments or slurs and feel the effects of racism from a colored community or a colored body. And I don't feel like it's mentioned very well in this text, especially in the Katrina reading. If you look at the documentary online on Nova, it's not just the colored community that is affected, it's everybody. So I wish they had a little bit more of everybody in the reading. I know they do point out some places where white people do not seem to be as affected. They also mention class in the reading. I do feel like class had a huge part of the deal with it. But again, I feel like part of that is because of our economy. They also mention that a lot of people chose to stay, and the government sort of made comments that they were warned to leave and it was their fault. I do feel like this is unfair because a lot of the people that stayed did not have a ride, or they could not leave. They were not physically capable of leaving. So I feel like the reading brings up some good points. There are some that I don't really agree with, but like Dr. Glass told us, we're not going to agree with everything. I look forward to hearing your comments about my opinions, and I perceive this week will be a really interesting and detailed discussion.